society Linda knew which looked after ladies stranded at railway stations. In France, more likely, there would be one for shipping them off to South America. Any moment now, somebody, some genial old woman or jolly French gentleman, might come up and give her an injection, after which she would disappear forever.
Fiends! Fiends! Oh, how right far always was. Abroad is bloody and foreigners are fiends. Allez-vous-en.
Bonjour, bonjour.
Voulez-vous vous en aller? It is necessary that I explain to you that I am not a white slave. I am the daughter of a very important Milord Anglais.
One does not have to be Sherlock Holmes to get that. The French ladies, covered with the exterior sign of wealth, do not sit crying under suitcases at the Gare du Nord at this hour of the morning. White slaves, on the other hand, always have protectors. And it's only too clear that just now you are unprotected. Alors, I invite you to luncheon with me, but first you must have a bath and a rest and a cold compress on your face. Maintenant, venez. I ask to be excused for not taking you to the Ritz, but I have a feeling for the Hotel Montalembert just now that it will suit your mood this morning. The food here is excellent, in a discreet way. I shall return at 1 o'clock, when you will join me in the dining room for luncheon. À tout à l'heure, madame. You've kept me waiting for half an hour. That is a very good sign.
Sign of what?
Oh, of this and that. A good augury for our affair. It will be happy and last long.
We are not having an affair.
My name is Fabrice. May one ask yours?
Linda.
Linda. Ah, comme c'est joli. With me, it usually lasts 5 years. Ah, let me see now. What would madame wish to eat?
If madame could see a menu.
Alors, le foie gras frais de canard, les quenelles de homard avec une salade verte et un bâtard monraché 32 avec évian.
Monsieur.
I adore les femmes, but some matters are too important for them to be allowed to interfere. And now, madame, recount.
Recount what?
But of course the story. Who was it that left you to cry on that suitcase?
He didn't. I left him. It was my second husband, and I have left him forever because he has fallen in love with a welfare worker. Not that you know what that is, because I'm sure they do not exist in France.
What a very curious reason for leaving one's second husband. Surely with your experience of husbands, you must have noticed that falling in love with other women is one of the things they do. However, it's an ill wind, as they say, and I do not complain. But why the suitcase? Why did you not put yourself in the train and take yourself back to Monsieur, the very important Milord Anglais, your father?
It's a very long story.
Oh, then please, tell it. Moi, j'adore les histoires. Merci. Perpignan. And in the name of heaven, what were you and your husband doing there?
Trying to stop you frogs from teasing the poor Spaniards.
Teasing them? Were we?
Herding them into camps.
And what were we supposed to do with them? We never invited them, you know.
You made them go into camps and then gave them no shelter.
It's quite a job to provide shelter at a moment's notice for 500,000 people.
Then if you couldn't give them shelter, why did you make them go into your camps?
Because there we could and did feed them. In any case, you could hardly expect us to turn them loose on the countryside with no money. What would have been the result of that? Do use your common sense.
You should mobilize them all to fight in the war against fascism, which is coming any day now.
Talk about what you know, madame, and you will not get so angry. We haven't enough equipment for our own soldiers during the war against Germany. That's coming. And not any day, my dear Linda, but probably after the harvest. And now, go on telling me about your husband Christian and why you had no money at the Gare du Nord. It is, I promise you, so much more interesting. So before the poor husband Christian, there was the rich husband Tony, who had more money than taste, and he gave you this truly hideous fur coat that you were wearing on the suitcase.
You are very rude. It's a lovely fur coat.
It's only expensive. Mink, a vison. Color is nightmare and the cut is bad. Anyway, coats are getting longer. I see I must get you some clothes. If you were well dressed, you would be quite good looking. Even so, your eyes are too small, brown, a good color, but too small.
In England, I am considered a beauty.
Well, you have points. More coffee? Or are we to come now and see my flat?
I would rather see Paris.
Do you know Paris well?
I've never been here before in my life.
Never been here before? Then what a pleasure for me to show it to you. There is so much to show. It will take weeks.
Unfortunately, I leave for England tomorrow.
Ah, yes, of course, yes. Then, we must see it all this afternoon. Et après, we shall go to see my flat.
You may go where you please. I shall return to the Hotel Montalembert.
Very well, madame. It's a magnificent resistance, madame, and I congratulate you with all my heart.
be it never so humble, there's no place like home.
Tell the housekeeper to have a set of rooms prepared for Mr. Dugdale. The ones he always used to have. He will be staying indefinitely.
Sonia, of course I'd have to stay for a few days, but I
Hampton
really
must
can't.
be your home from now on.
Yes, but, what about Polly?
You simply have to face it, boy, darling. She's gone off with that old Paddington creature, and she's not coming back. Now, you know you're gonna love being here with Sonia, not to mention one. So, just say thank you nicely in the way that Nanny taught you, and let's not have any more nonsense, eh?
Hello?
Hello? Are you having breakfast?
How clever of you to know.
Is it good?
It's delicious. I have to keep stopping to make it go on longer. Are you having yours?
Had it. I must tell you that I like very long conversations in the morning, and I shall expect you to recount lots of histoires.
Like Scheherazade.
Yes, just like. But for now, you must get up, because in 1 hour I must fetch you. I have something to show you. You have never before been to Paris.
Of course, you know the old story of the two English ladies who were walking here. And suddenly, they were surrounded by people in 18th century clothes. And they saw Marie Antoinette sitting in her garden with a little Trianon.
A very silly and boring tale. Histoires are of interest only when they are true, or when you make them up specially to amuse me. Histoires of phantoms imagined by some dim old English virgins are neither true nor interesting, so no more stories of ghosts, madame, if you please.
I'm only doing my best to please you. You tell a story.
Yes, I will. And this story is true. My grandmother was very beautiful and had many lovers all her life, even when she was quite old. A short time before she died, she was in Venice with my mother. And one day they saw from the gondola a little palazzo of pink marble, very exquisite. They stopped the gondola to look at it, and my mother said, "I don't believe anybody lived there. Let's try to see inside." So they rang the bell, and an old servant came and said that nobody had lived there for many, many years, and that you would show it to them if they liked. So they went in and upstairs to the salon, which had 3 windows looking over the canal, and was decorated in 15th century plaster work. White, on a background of pale blue. It was a perfect room. My grandmother seemed strangely moved and stood for a long time in silence. At last she said to my mother, "If in the 3rd drawer of that bureau there is a filigree box containing a small gold key and a black velvet ribbon, this house belongs to me." And my mother looked, and there was, and it did. One of my grandmother's lovers had given it to her years and years before when she was quite young, and she had forgotten all about it.
Goodness. What fascinating lives you foreigners do lead.
And it belongs to me now. I would take you there tomorrow, but
For what?
one must stay here now, you see, for the war.
Oh, I keep forgetting about the war.
Yes. Let's forget it. You are very badly coiffée, ma chérie.
If you don't like my hair, and you don't like my clothes, and you think my eyes are so small, I don't know what you see in me.
Nevertheless, I'd swear that there is quelque chose.
meals you give a girl. Have you no other engagements?
Of course. I've cancelled them.
Who are your friends?
Les gens du monde. The men and women of the polite world. And yours?
When I was married to Tony, I used to go out in the monde. It was my life. But Christian disapproved of it. He stopped me going to parties and frightened away my friends, whom he considered frivolous and idiotic.
Everybody's getting more serious. That's the way things are going. But whatever one may be in politics, left, right, fascist, communist, les gens du monde are the only possible ones for France. And what else is there to distinguish man from the animals but his social life? Who understand it so well? Who can make it so smooth and amusing as les gens du monde? But one cannot have le monde at the same time as a love affair. One must be wholehearted to enjoy it. So I have cancelled all my engagements.
What a pity. Because I leave for London tomorrow.
Oh, yes. I had forgotten. Ah. What a pity.
Hello?
Hello, hello. Are you asleep?
What do you think? What time is it?
About 2. Shall I come round and see you?
Do you mean now?
Yes.
I must say that would be very nice. But the thing is, what would the night porter think?
Oh, Monsieur. How English you are. I must break it to you. You will not be under any illusion.
I suppose not.
But then, isn't there no illusion as it is? After all, I come for you 3 or 4 times every day. And French people, even those who are not les gens du monde, are quite quick at noticing these things. In short, your reputation in the hotel will become no worse than it already is.
Oh, I see.
Very well. We understand each other. I shall be with you very shortly. Germaine, who will look after your every request. So, you see, it will be altogether plus commode than the Hotel Montalembert. Altogether the most sensible and convenient thing.
Yes, I do see Fabrice. Extremely sensible.
When I was young, I liked to be very romantic.
Uh-huh.
And run all kinds of risks. I used to hide in wardrobes, to be brought into the house in a trunk, to climb in at windows. Oh, mon Dieu. How I used to climb. Then one night, I climbed into a wasp's nest. The agony. So now I prefer to be comfortable and have my own key. I shall be back here for dinner, which Germaine will prepare at 8:30. I think it's important, you see, to have and follow a routine. It is necessary, when all is said, to be practical. Au revoir, madame.
Indeed, Linda thought, nobody could be more practical than Fabrice. No nonsense about him. A little nonsense, she thought, would have been rather nice. And then Linda thought rather wistfully of her mother. She hadn't liked it when Linda had committed adultery with Christian. But he at least was English, and Linda had been properly introduced to him, and knew his surname. Also, Christian had all along intended to marry her. But how much less would my Aunt Sadie like her daughter to pick up an unknown, nameless foreigner and go off with him to live in luxury? Linda profoundly hoped she would never find out. Nor Uncle Matthew. If he knew her situation, he would come charging down the street with his shotgun, or at the very least one of his stock whips.
Madame? Madame? I think it is time for Madame to take her bath. Monsieur Le Duc will be here in 3/4 of an hour.
Thank you.
Merci, Germaine.
Could one know your name?
Haven't you discovered that? My name is Sauveterre. I'm happy to tell you, madame, I am a very rich duke. A most agreeable thing to be, even in these days.
How lovely for you. And while we're on the subject of your private life, are you married?
No.
Why not?
My fiancée died.
Oh, how sad. What was she like?
Very pretty.
Prettier than me?
Much prettier. Very correct.
More correct than me?
You, madame. One doesn't think of in terms of correctness. And then she was so gentle. Mais d'une gentillesse, la pauvre.
What was her name?
Louise. Only child of the last Duc de Rance.
You know, 5 years. You did say that with you it normally lasts 5 years. It's quite a long time when it's all in front of you.
But Louise died more than 5 years ago. 15 years in the autumn. I always go and put late roses on her grave. Those little tight roses with very dark green leaves that never open properly. Adieu que c'est triste. You always laugh when you make love.
I hadn't thought about it, but I suppose I do. Do you find it odd?
Very disconcerting at first, I must say.
Why? Don't most women laugh?
Indeed, they do not. More often they cry.
How extraordinary. Don't they enjoy it?
It's nothing to do with enjoyment. Now, if they are young, they call on the mothers. If they are religious, they call on the Virgin to forgive them. But I never known one who laughed, except you.
What else do they do?
What they all do, except you. They say, how you must despise me.
Why should you despise them?
Oh, really, my dear, one does, that's all.
How unfair. First you seduce them, then you despise them, poor things. What a monster you are.
But they like it. They like groveling about and saying, oh, whatever have I done? Oh, mon Dieu, Fabrice, hélas. Whatever must you think of me? Oh, how bitterly I'm ashamed. But you seem unaware of your shame. You just roar with laughter. It's very strange. and rather agreeable, I must admit.
What about Louise, your fiancée? Didn't you despise her?
Of course not. She was a virtuous woman.
Do you mean to say you never went to bed with her?
Never. Never would such a thing have crossed my mind in 1,000 years.
Goodness. In England, we always do.
My dear, it's well known, the animal side of the English. The English are a drunken and incontinent race, that the whole world agrees.
The English don't know it. They think it's you foreigners that are all those things.
French women are the most virtuous in the world.
Good night, Basil. I'll come and tuck you in later. Good night, David.
Basil? Oui? I see I narrowly avoided a domestic scene. What a pity, darling. I should have so enjoyed watching you playing the mother.
Well, perhaps it's just as well you didn't. It is a very private role.
Surely you wouldn't have presented an audience of one. After all, you've seen me often enough, playing the son.
And I hope you're as dutiful as ever,
Oh,
Cedric.
yes. And it's so much easier now. Boy's in the house, you see, to take her off my hands a lot of the time.
Still no sign of Polly coming back?
Not a chance, my darling. She's far too engrossed with her randy old Paddington. And even if she wanted to come back, Boy wouldn't have her. Boy, my dear, has other fish to fry.
A fish whose name begins with C?
And will one day begin with M. Boy will love that. So, always round, my darling, things have worked out well for everybody. Poor old Montor has retired into a mist of senility, but he's quite content inside it. Polly's happy with Papa Paddington. Boy is quite potty about one, and one is in total blissikins with Boy. And Sonia is absolutely delirious about both of us. So delirious, in fact, that she's forgotten how to be mean and pays the most alarming bills from Cartier's without a murmur. So, here we all are, my darling, having our lovely cake and eating it. One's great aim in life.
I know. Alfred thinks it's terrible.
Parcels, madame, from Lenon and Molyneux. And there are 2 gentlemen to see madame, from England.
Gracious heavens.
Well, you do look pretty.
Are you in disguise?
What can you mean? Oh, the spectacles. Oh, I have to wear them when I'm abroad. I have such kind eyes, you see. Beggars and things cluster around and annoy me.
What have you come for?
Well, actually, we came to see if you were all right. As it's perfectly clear that you are, we might as well go away again.
How did you find out? Do Mummy and Fa know?
No, not a thing. They still think you're in Perpignan with Christian.
Thank God.
But we heard that you'd left. So, I went round to Cheney Walk, where you obviously weren't. And Myrd and I got faintly worried to think of you wandering about the continent, so ill-suited, we thought, to look after yourself. How wrong we were. And at the same time, we became madly curious to know what had become of you. So we put into motion a little discreet detective work, and here we are.
You gave us quite a fright. Another time when you're putting on this Claude de Merode act, you might send a postcard. For one thing, it's a great pleasure to see you in the part. I wouldn't have missed it for worlds.
Deliveries, madame, from Patou, Balenciaga, and from Fat.
Oh, goodness. How funny it all is. Parcels, the flyers, so tremendously Victorian. Have you yet told him that he must give you up and marry a pure young girl?
Oh, don't tease, Dave. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Well, you look happy, I must say. Oh, this flat is a joke.
There are some things here which raise the level. A Gauguin. These two Matisse. Chintzy, but accomplished. Your protector must be very rich.
He is. I thought you knew all about him. You and your detective work.
Well, we found out where, but not who.
Do stay and see him. He's a terrific heart.
No. I think we've intruded enough for one day.
Who is he?
He is called the Duke of Sauveterre.
Oh, what? Fabrice de Sauveterre?
Do you know him?
Well, of course we know him. And all about him. And so does everyone else in the whole world. Except you.
Well, don't you think he's a terrific Hahn? Do admit.
Fabrice is undoubtedly one of the wickedest men in Europe where women are concerned.
What a scene there'll be when he smells Mer's cigar. There'll be a cream passionnel, I shouldn't wonder. Why, Linda, darling, we're off to dine with our intellectual friends. Oh, I shall pay for this later. Will you have luncheon with us at the Ritz tomorrow?
I'd like that. Fabrice has never taken me to the Ritz.
1 o'clock, then, in the bar. Give our love to Fabrice.
Au revoir.
Ah, your taste is improving every day, ma chère. Walk up and down. It will need a soupçon off there and a slight lengthening there. Otherwise, admirable. Continue. Continue, ma chère. Buy more, much more. You have not, by any chance, taken to smoking cigars?
Oh, that was an old friend of Mummy's and mine, Lord Merlin. He came with Davy Warbeck, who married my Aunt Emily. They say they know you.
Oh, yes, indeed. Lord Merlin, tellement gentil. And that poor Warbeck, always thinking himself so ill. I knew them in Venice. What did they make of all this?
They roared at the flat.
Oh, yes, I can imagine. It's not suitable for you, this flat, but it's convenient. And with the war coming...
Oh, but I love it. I wouldn't want anything else. Wasn't it clever of them, though, to find me?
Do you mean to say you never told anybody where you were?
I really didn't think of it. The days go by. You know, one simply doesn't remember these things.
Doesn't one? And it was 6 weeks before anyone thought of looking for you? As a family, you seem to me remarkably casual.
Never, never let me go back to them again.
My darling. But you love them, hmm? Mommy and Fa and little Matt and Bob and Victoria and Fanny. What is all this?
I never want to leave you as long as I live.
Uh-huh. But you'll probably have to, quite soon. The war is going to begin, you know.
Oh, why can't I stay here? I could work. I could be a nurse. Well, perhaps not a nurse, but something. I was quite a success at Perpignan.
If you promise me to do what I tell you, you may stay here for a time. At the beginning, we shall sit and look at the Germans across the Maginot Line. Then I shall be a great deal in Paris, between Paris and the front, but mostly here. Then somebody, we or the Germans, I'm very much afraid the Germans will pour across the line and a war of movement will begin. I shall have notice of that. But what you must promise me is that the very minute I tell you to leave for London, you will leave. Even you see no reason for doing so. I should be hampered beyond words in my duties if you were still here. So, will you solemnly promise me?
All right. Solemnly.
I don't believe anything so dreadful could possibly happen to me. I promise to do what you say. Now, in return, will you promise me that you will come to London as soon as this is all over and find me again? Promise?
Yes, ma chère. I will do that.
Yes, I think I'm going to buy it. Yeah?
I am here to meet Lord Merlin.
Miller has been delayed, madame. I have to make 1,000 regrets and serve madame with her choice.
Nothing, thank you. I'll just wait over there.
Madame.
Dear, dear. And have you seen Fabrice at all?
Well, I have, because I quite often see him at old Madame de Sauveterre's. But he never goes out anywhere, as you know.
Then what about Jacqueline?
Still in England, waiting for her old aunt to die. She daren't leave her alone for a second, in case she changes her will. Ah, mais le pauvre Fabrice is utterly lost without her. Like a dog looking for its master. He sits sadly at home, never goes to parties, never goes to his club, sees nobody. His mother is really worried about him.
And yet it is such a happy menage. He has been faithful for 5 years. Surely she will come back soon.
On verra, on verra. But not until her aunt dies, I think. You know that his mother says he rings her up every morning and talks for an hour. It's incredible, isn't it?
Do you mind if I cut luncheon with you? I've just remembered something very urgent.
Oh, my dear Linda, neither of us is in any condition to protest. Our intellectual friends have undone us quite. My main problem is how to get Davy home to England alive. You see?
Then you'll excuse me.
Oh, just a moment. Before you go. Here. Open it later. Come on.
This is the house of the Duc de Sauveterre.
Yes, madame.
Then I wish to speak with Monsieur Le Duc at once, please.
Monsieur Le Duc has gone out with madame his mother.
Then I shall wait. As she waited, Linda began to feel more calm, but at the same time very sad. She saw that this room indicated a side of Fabrice's character which she had hardly been allowed to apprehend, and which had its roots in old and civilized French grandeur, something in which she could never have a share, from which she would always be kept rigidly apart in her sunny modern flat, even if their liaison should last forever. She began to realize that here were her competitors, her enemies, here in the grave of his fiancée Louise. And to come here and make a scene about a rival mistress would be utterly meaningless. She would be one unreality complaining about another. I enclose something which may one day be useful, Merlin. For a man with such cruel eyes, he is extremely considerate.
Yes, another month, I should think. As soon as they've got the harvesting.
If it depended on the English, they'd wait until after the Christmas shopping. Oh, Fabrice, it won't last very long, will it?
It will be very disagreeable while it does. Did you come to my house today?
Oh, yes. I suddenly felt I wanted to see you very, very much.
Comme c'est gentil. But why didn't you wait?
Your ancestors frightened me off.
Oh, they did. But you have ancestors yourself, I believe, madame.
Yes, but they don't hang about in quite the way that yours do.
You should have waited. It's always a great pleasure to see you, both for me and my ancestors. It cheers us all up.
Tell me, Fabrice, what did you think the first time you saw me?
If you really want to know, I thought, tiens, she's like the little Bosquet.
Who's that?
There are two Bosquet sisters. The elder, who is a beauty, and a little one who looks like you.
Thank you, sir. I would rather resemble the other.
No, ma chère. To be too beautiful as she is to be untouchable. One doesn't dare dally with perfection. It's far more appetizing to dally with you.
I was so sad, so many being away at Christmas. Little Matt and Bob. I did hope Jassy would come over from America. Of course, the war's made that impossible. Victoff, being a Wren. No leave for her till she's been commissioned and passed out of her course. Oh, but it's lovely having Louisa and her three, and it's wonderful that you and Alfred and the boys could come. Otherwise, it had hardly been worth doing the decorations.
I remember these decorations from years and years ago.
Oh. It's only right that some things should never change.
I had a letter from Linda the other day. She seems very happy in Paris.
Yes, Davy saw her. Said she's very busy doing her war work, providing comforts for the French troops. Matthew approves of that. He approves of war work. I only wish the War Office would offer him a job. He goes about like a bear with a sore head. What makes it worse is that little Matt is an officer in his own regiment.
And Christian too, it seems.
Yes. They're training in one of those secret areas up in the north of Scotland. Oh, I expect that's why Linda's free to stay on in Paris for a bit.
What are you thinking of?
Of Christmas at home. I would much rather be here with you. But I think of them.
Open your presents, ma chère.
For you, I have this. I bought it with some money Lord Merlin gave me.
Merlin gave you money?
I think it was in case something went very wrong and I had to go away in a hurry. But I won't have to go away, so I spent his money on this.
Money. Money is nothing. Mais écoutez-moi, ma chère. What I said will happen, may still happen, will happen. Sooner or later, probably sooner. I shall have to send you to England. Where shall you go? Home to your father?
Oh, no. Anyway, it won't happen. All the English papers say we are killing Germany with our blockade.
Oh, le blocus, quelle blague. No, I must tell you, madame, they don't give a rap for your blockade. So, where would you go?
To my own house in Chelsea, to wait for you to come.
It might be months or years.
I shall wait.
What a beautiful day. Easter is always fine in Paris. On Sunday, I must remember to go to church.
Fabrice, how can you go to church when there's me?
Why not?
You're a Catholic, aren't you?
Of course. Do I look like a Calvinist?
Then aren't you living in mortal sin? So what about when you confess?
One need not to be too precise. In any case, these little sins of the body are quite important.
Would Louise have agreed?
Louise? What are you saying of Louise?
All that climbing in at people's bedroom windows. Wouldn't that have upset her?
After marriage, there would have been no more climbing. My whole life would have been devoted to making Louise happy.
Then the sins of the body are important.
The English are mad. I've always said so. You almost sound as if you want to be given up. Not tired of your war work, I hope.
No, Fabrice. I just wondered, that's all.
But you look so sad, ma chérie. What is it?
Perhaps it is because I want to be more than just a little sin of the body.
Mais vous êtes, madame. You are the most enticing, most enchanting scene, and such laughter as never I heard to go with it.
I suppose that will have to do.
Is it not enough? It's time now to go chez nous, ma chère, for more of your spatial laughter.
What is it, Fabrice? What has happened?
What had to happen? Or rather, very soon will. Meanwhile, there will be a place for you in the aeroplane this afternoon. You must pack a small suitcase and the rest of your things. I must go after you by train. I have to go to the Ministère de la Guerre and get your ticket and your special visa. When I come back, I must take you straight to the Bourget. But before I go to the Ministère, there is just time for that little spot of war work of which we were speaking in the bois.
Madame. Madame.
Jamais. No. No.
Tiens, what is this? A fancy dress party?
Fabrice, I cannot take away the things you have given me. I loved having them while I was here and while it gave you pleasure to see me wearing them. But I have some pride. And I was not brought up dans un bordel.
Oh, ma chère, try not to be so middle class. It doesn't suit you at all. There's no time for you to change, but take this. And I will send your thing after you. Come now, we must go.
I must explain to Germaine why I'm leaving so suddenly.
There's no time, you cannot understand.
Au revoir, Germaine. Adieu, madame.